Hello everyone, this is Tim Knight and wanted to do a kind of end of month wrap up here. Just going to talk about my little WAG prediction. And so April, although we really didn't know it at the time, the entire month of April, the market basically spent building this wonderful topping pattern right here, which, as it often does in retrospect, looks just oh so obvious. Nice rounded top here, very pretty, with this very clean line at 1176.75. This is the ES as always. And in spite of the so-called fat finger crash, everything just panned out beautifully here. We had the fall begin, the famous fat finger crash, and then this enormous bounce up, kind of a stall here, slight resumption, another attempt up, and then this nice waterfall pattern down. Then we've got another kind of basing pattern here, inverted head and shoulders. Yesterday we escaped from that and then retraced today. So let's review our, my little prediction scribbles here, famously made in a next to a horse stable during a children's birthday party. So this is my labeling of the 37 to 42 analog. And when I did this initially back in the very middle of the month, as we see here, my supposition was that we were at number 17 and that what was going to come next was a drop and then kind of struggling resumption up to 19, and then basically the fall of the year, which is 19 to 20, which is kind of what I'm living for at this point. 17 to 18 took place very nicely, which was essentially this fall right here. I made my little discovery here where I'm pointing. This is when I had my little scribble done on the weekend, and then that transpired very, very nicely. And as this called for, we got just about as low as the prior, that is 14 low. And now we're in the midst of this push higher, and I think we're about halfway done with it at this point. If we look at the very strong Wednesday we had, actually I've lost track, my goodness, was it yesterday? Yeah, excuse me, Thursday, very strong Thursday we had, that did a fine job of pushing the market higher. And in fact, if we look at this little scribbling right here, which is essentially kind of a zoomed in view, I made this scribble, which I've modified this bit, I'll explain in a moment. But I drew this on, I think, Tuesday, if memory serves. Yeah, Tuesday after the close. And it called for a down, an up, a retrace, and then the final push higher. Now, when I drew this, I mean, I didn't intend each line to be a day or anything like that. In fact, all I really wanted to draw was a move that got us up to around here and then started to fall. So don't read much, if anything, into these lines. It just so happens that so far this first line down was Wednesday, this next line was Thursday, and this line here it was Friday. Before, and I want to be very honest here because this didn't look like this before. It used to look, if you recall, like that. And I got rid of this before I did this video because as I've said, I've kind of moved away from it getting this high, although it's still possible. As long as it doesn't exceed this high, then it's fine. So it could get up as high as like whatever this is, 1173, or I don't know the exact number. But as long as it doesn't get higher than that, it's fine. So if it goes past 1140, I'm not going to freak out. But I changed things a bit for that lower thing, particularly since, and I want to make note of this today, strictly speaking, this inverted head and shoulders, the neckline is actually, should be there. So we have violated that neckline. And there was a lot of talk about the inverted head and shoulders pattern today on the blog. Does this invalidate it? I don't know. I mean, it makes it a little less pure. And I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to charts. So if Tuesday opened and we just kept kind of oodling down here and moving away from this, I wouldn't be as surprised as I would be surprised if it were a very clean pattern. So I'm giving this a bit of wiggle room here by moving this down. What that means, though, if this pattern does hold, it essentially takes away its potency. You know, the measured move from these things is typically the distance from the extreme to the neckline. And given that, this reduces the potency for this thing to move up. Instead of moving to 1140, it would move more like to 1133 or so. So it would kind of give up the ghost earlier. And that actually kind of makes sense from a resistance standpoint, because if you look around 1133, so you get all this garbage both here and here. So there's a lot of activity around that area. So for the market to sort of stall around there would kind of make sense. I would hasten to add, though, that before, you know, if indeed it gets up there and starts stalling, before everyone falls all over themselves shorting this thing, please take note that the same kind of thing happened here. So it went up and kind of noodled around and horsed around, and it made a lurch higher, and then it lurched another higher. So this can be kind of expensive if you go just crazy shorting here and spend the next few days watching it actually fight its way up to higher levels. So I'll be, you know, pleased if it gets to 1135, but I'm not going to pull all the stops out because it's entirely possible, as I said, this thing could get as high as 1173 or so with this thing still intact. Of course, what's possible is that it goes to 1300. I mean, anything's possible. I'm talking about within the confines of this prediction. But if this does indeed pan out, as I've done here on my very imprecise interpretation, it calls for, hello Abby, it calls for a really beefy fall down to the lowish 900s, going back to this guy right here. The fall to 20 would get us you know, well beneath February lows, but not as low as last June, July. And I'm going to use 925 as my shot in the dark guess for a target. Anything close to that, I'd be just thrilled to pieces. So where I stand right now in my portfolio, I've got 105 shorts. All of them small except for XLU. That's kind of big. And I've got 4 longs. I've got spiders, GLD for gold. Gosh, Tim, what else? What do I have? I can actually look here. I know I've got BP, British Petroleum, as kind of my top kill play. Oh, yes, an OIH. So those are my kind of balancing forces. So overall, I am tilted bearish, but not radically. I do have 4 rather large longs to balance things out, so that no matter what happens on Tuesday, I know I won't be thrilled, but I also won't be miserable. I'll be somewhere in between, because no matter what the market does with a portfolio balance like that, it's not going to move things too wildly in either direction. I just need to find a good way to kind of bide my time while waiting for us to top out here. So anyway, May was, on a cash basis, best trading month of my life by far, and really went well. Delighted for that, and goodness knows I hope June goes anywhere close to as well, maybe even better. So it's going to be a long weekend, be relatively quiet here on the slope, and I will see you here on Tuesday morning for what promises to be a very interesting week. Bye.